Okay, hi class 7 and welcome back to our scientific notation. Class, this should be our second lesson by now. So here's a quick warm-up for you. You have, in this column on the left, you have numbers that are written using exponents and powers of 10. And then in the right, the right column, I want you to write these numbers in decimal form or just in standard as standard numbers. Please also take note of this yellow question here. Are all of these numbers on the left column written using the correct scientific notation? So the top one has been done for you. Please pause the video now and work on the next 5 problems on paper, and you can come back to check your answers in a moment. So please press pause. Okay, hopefully you paused the video and had a go for yourself on paper. Maybe you even shared answers with your peers. So let's take a look at the answers now. Please make sure you compare these answers with yours. Check them. You might want to practice saying them out loud. Make sure your commas are in the right places as well. Now, the question in yellow, are they all written in scientific notation? These numbers on the left, most of them are, but there's this one here, 0.99 times 10 to the power of 7. This is not. So the reason it is not, hopefully you discussed that, but it is lower than 1. So if we wanted to correct this, we would obviously change the decimal point to go in between the 9s, and that would also affect the exponent. Okay. So let's focus on smaller numbers this lesson. So let's think about this number here on the right, 0.000034. Now we can't write this in scientific notation like that because the decimal point needs to go between the 3 and the 4, as we discussed last class. Now what would we do to 3.4? Think of that yellow arrow there. What would we do to it to get it to this small number? How would we make 3.4 smaller to get to 0.000034? What operation would you perform? What math would you do? Pause the video and talk to your peers. Okay, now I'm not sure what you said when you were talking about that, but here's some things that I might say or that I know might be said. So we could say take 3.4 and divide it by 100,000. Okay, so that would mean we would make it 100,000 times smaller, and we would end up with the number we want. You could also think of dividing by 100,000 as multiplying by 1 over 100,000. So we're using our fraction skills here. We're finding 1/100,000th of it, which is the same thing as dividing by 100,000. Now, if you were to write that in scientific notation, you would write it as 3.4 multiplied by 10 to the power of -5. So clearly, these 3 things here, the divide by 100,000, the multiply by 1 over 100,000, and the times by 10 to the power of -5, all mean the same thing. Just the same thing expressed in different ways. So, here are some questions for you to consider. Please pause the video, read these questions, and discuss with your peers. All right, I'm not sure what you said, but I'm going to go through some answers to these questions. Now, 10 to the power of -1. What that really means is 1 over 10. This is called the reciprocal. The negative means that you flip the number upside down. So 10 wholes is really 10 over 1. So when you flip it upside down, you get 1 over 10. 1 over 10 is 1/10, which is also the same as divide by 10. So on to 10 to the power of -2. What do you think that means? What is the reciprocal of 10 to the power of 2? Well, that would be 1 over 10 to the power of 2, which is 1 over 100. So we are basically just flipping it upside down, but still applying the power, the exponent. That's what reciprocal means, flip it upside down. So what do you think 10 to the power of -3 means? Well, think about 10 to the power of 3 and then flip it upside down. And lo and behold, you get 1 over 1,000. You could say it's 1 over 10 to the power of 3. That would be the same thing. So apply those skills. What does 5 multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 3 mean? Well, it would mean 5 multiplied by 1 over 1,000. Or you could say 5 divided by 1,000, which would give you 0.005. So here are 2 different ways to think about the calculation, and then here's the final answer in decimal form. So you might want to take some notes on this slide here because you can hopefully see a pattern happening between the exponent and the fraction here, and this will be really helpful to you. All right, take another moment to pause the video and practice these 2 problems. On the left, I want you to write this in standard notation or in decimal form, and on the right, I want you to write this in scientific notation. So pause the video, get going on paper. All right, I'm going to show you the answers, so only continue if you're ready. Right, so 4.3 times 10 to the power of negative 4. What you hopefully did was realize that you can divide it by 10 4 times. So the decimal point started here, and you divided by 10 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and you've got 0.00043. Okay, over here it was your job to move the decimal place over here between the 2 and the 9, and then count how many times would you have to divide it by 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is why we have times 10 to the power of negative 6. Okay? Right, think now, how do you feel about this scientific notation with negative exponents and small numbers, and use that to decide what to do next. So you can choose your practice today. You might want to do just some basic skill practice of using the exponents and the multiplying by tens. So go to IXL, go to the grade 8 section, and I think it was skills G1 and G2, but you can check this on Academic Manager. There will be a list for you. Or if you're feeling a little bit more confident and you want to put it into context, you can go to the word problems, which are on Academic Manager also. Please check your answers as you go along. And when you're ready to take this a step further, and I mean, you know, the next step further, you have to be pretty confident to be able to handle these. You really need to make sure you have a grasp on these first. You can now look into operations with scientific notation, which we really don't need to do in grade 7. You'll probably do more in grade 8, but if you really do feel ready and confident, then please use the Khan Academy lesson. The link is on Academic Manager. So all of these resources will be on Academic Manager for you. Please choose carefully, or please come and see me for advice and I can help you decide which is best for you. Okay, thank you.